Welcome back. So, what's up, man? What's been going on?
Well, yesterday I felt really, really bad, like shit. I felt like shit big time.
Was there a reason?
Oh yeah, big time. Big reason.
Good thing we didn't do one yesterday, huh? Or would it have been a good day to maybe do one?
No, it wouldn't
Talk
have.
it through?
No, it wouldn't have.
You need a day
not
to
at all.
repress,
Yeah,
huh?
because when you don't think about stuff and stuff just slips out of your mouth without thinking about it, and you say like, "Oh shit, I fucked up."
Well, I just
I
did
said
that with
something
Peter.
wrong.
I didn't mean to say woman. It's just I fucked up and said that. I hope I didn't offend you. But yet, no, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, I felt like shit, like big time. I mean,
Was
it made me feel so bad that I hurt myself by saying it.
And that's the worst. Yeah. When you
Yeah.
start feeling that like resentment towards yourself, and you're just
Yeah.
letting your guilt eat you up. And then
Yes.
oh my god, you feel like you just shatter.
Yeah, and guilt's a killer.
I hate that shit. I don't know if it's a selfish thing to say, but one of the things that made me get my act together when I first met my current girlfriend was because that shit that I used to put my ex through used to kill me. Like all those things, they would they tore me apart for a lot of years, and all that guilt I was feeling made me never want to feel that again or make that other person feel that way. So I really, really, really got my shit together, and I created a whole new meaning of the word faithful for myself, because I used to think that faithful back then was just something that, oh, just because I love you, I can still go do whatever the hell I want, and that counts. You know what I mean? My line in the sand was so far out as far as what, cheating might be on somebody or something like that. I was just really messed up until I started feeling that guilt, which I'm glad I started feeling it.
Oh yeah, it's good. It's good.
Because a lot of people, sometimes that guilt never hits them.
And that's the thing, because of the guilt hitting you, then at least you know that you're learning in life and you're having compassion for other people.
And you're a human. And you're capable of loving.
Yep, that's right. So I said something real stupid yesterday. And
online
I felt so
or in
bad.
person or?
No, in person.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I told somebody nobody likes them, and that's just fucked up.
That's a bad thing to say.
That's a very bad thing to say, and I felt so bad about saying that. It was just ridiculous. And then, especially coming from me, and you know how I am. I'm working on myself, and my goal in life is to inspire and motivate people, and I turn around and said something like that out of my own anger. First of all, I allowed myself to get angry about situations, and people don't make you angry. You allow yourself to get angry over stuff, and then after allowing myself to get angry and then just spit out that one little word, it just hurt. I hurt myself, basically. It just really did. I mean, emotionally, just like it fucked me up inside. I had to go for a long-ass walk.
I think, though, that sometimes that kind of stuff needs to happen. And it works both ways for that person and for you. So maybe they could wake up for whatever reason that you guys were clashing. Maybe that'll help develop, fixing that. And then as for you, because you've been going through all this self-help stuff and nothing but positivity. And in a way, you kind of forget the other side of the token.
Yeah.
So it's good to kind of remind yourself of that sometimes, because then you kind of fall back to maybe not all the way rock bottom, but you go down a little bit so you can start rebuilding it and then adding to your box of like ammunition.
Well, not only that, but that guilt that you feel, it just reminds you that you do have empathy. And probably if I would have said that about 5-6 years ago to somebody, I wouldn't give a shit who I'd hurt. Yeah. But now I care more about people, especially you don't say stuff like that to the people that you love. Mm-hmm. And when you really love somebody, you never, ever make them feel down like that. And it hurt me a lot. So I'm really glad that I was able to feel that empathy. I'm not at all glad that I said that, but I'm glad that I did realize it and I held myself accountable.
But you could rebuild and strengthen yourself further from that incident.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly the point.
It's just a tool for you to use.
That's right.
It's inevitable that those things are going to happen in the future. Because as much as I love whoever, there's going to be a point in time where confrontation will present itself and things are going to get said that we both don't mean out of just being in the moment. But you got to take those, you got to take accountability for that.
And think about what you're going to say.
And learn
from it. Would you want somebody to tell you something like that? No, of course not. So then don't say it yourself.
Well, if I needed to hear it, then yes. if I'm being an asshole and nobody's calling me out on it, then I would like for somebody to point that out at some point in time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
I said, you know what I mean?
But still, though, even then, it's not really... Like I said, if I'm allowing myself to get angry because of what somebody else is saying, and still that's my fault for allowing myself to get angry. I shouldn't be that way.
You stepped out of character for a moment.
Exactly.
But you have to do that sometimes, though. Not everything is perfect.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to fuck up to get better than you were before.
That's right. You got to fall to get back up. And, yeah, stepping stones.
It's not that I don't mind fucking up, but when I do fuck up, I see it as an opportunity to get better. Yeah. Even better than I was prior to when I started.
It's just one of those situations that was like not even being apologetic made myself feel better because it didn't.
Do you think that's kind of selfish in a way for anybody? So say you go through something with somebody, but the only reason you're apologizing is to make yourself feel better or to make them feel better.
No, you have to make them feel better.
Yeah, because I think in a lot of ways, people use apologies the wrong way.
Yeah.
I feel like it's only for themselves. Yeah. Or you're with a certain person just because of how they made you feel rather than considering their feelings of what they're feeling.
And like you said, it's that when I did apologize, it still didn't even make me feel better. I still felt like shit, And that's I guess that's a true apology then, right? If you think about it. I just...
Were you still angry?
You saying this... Oh, yeah, I was angry at myself.
But no, were you still angry towards that person when you apologized?
No, at all. No, because I had so much... I felt so much guilt and so much sadness that I actually said something that hurt somebody. That outweighed that anger that I had. No matter what was said to me, and I said that anger completely disappeared with my empathy and like my own guilt, and I was like, "Fuck,"
It probably felt like a defeat too, in a way. The fact that you let that anger push you out of your position that you're in.
Yep.
And jumped out of character.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel good. Because you have this solid idea of who you want to be in your head and how you're going to go throughout your life and how you're going to be above these things that are considered, not big deals to people. And you're going to be able to have the strength and the maturity to push past those things and just, turn the other cheek or whatever and say, I'm not going to allow you to bring this energy into my life. Come back to me when, you fix yourself. But sometimes that doesn't always go down that way. Sometimes you indulge in the moment and you just blow up. And all your emotions just erupt.
You don't think, you just speak, and that's wrong.
But like I said, it's a good thing sometimes.
Yeah. It's a really good thing. It reminds you of who you are, and then it reminds you that you have to think and you have to remember you got to stay on your path.
But it reminds you that, hey, there's still work to be done.
Yep, that's right.
There's still work to be done.
And there'll always be work to be done. Like even the biggest teachers will say, we're not teachers, we're students.
There's no finish line.
Of life.
Yeah, there ain't no finish line.
That's why doctors are always practicing medicine.
Yeah, like enlightenment. Enlightenment is one of those things that a lot of people who are involved in, spirituality, more or less a religion. I guess is it the same thing, spirituality, religion? Those are two different things.
I think it could... honestly, from the feeling of it, I think it's the same thing because it's coming from a faith within yourself.
Yeah.
So it's...
So the idea of seeking enlightenment is an idea that you'll get to this one place at a certain point in time after doing so much of work on yourself that you eventually become enlightened. I'm going to look up the actual definition of what that means.
I don't think that anybody will ever get to a point of enlightenment. I don't... A lot of people might disagree with me on this, but because life is always coming at you, no matter what, it's just how you're responding to it. And how I responded yesterday was uncalled for. And it teaches me more to respond differently next time.
It just says the action of enlightening or the state of being enlightened. A lot of people think that it's just this state that you achieve over time. But really, I feel like enlightenment isn't really something that anybody can achieve because there's always going to be these moments where you're going to be tested and you will feel those human emotions that are inevitably provoked. I mean, you can reach a certain state where you're trained enough mentally to just be able to brush that stuff off.
but you can't control the actions that are coming towards you. You could just control the actions that are coming from you.
Yeah, and I feel like enlightenment, at least my own definition of it, if I were to ever say that one of these days I'll become enlightened and then I could actually say that I am enlightened, is after I've gone through all the things that I feel like I needed to go through. Because I think enlightenment is just all these moments and situations and hardships and all the adversities that you face in your life compiled into one thing, and remembering those things and using them like a tool.
Yeah. Well, for myself personally, I feel that enlightenment will come to me after death, because they say all of life is just a lesson, right? So for me, how I feel is every day that I'm alive, I'm just living life, and life is coming at me. And I'll always, every single moment of my life, be learning, keep on learning, learning. And when I don't need to learn anymore, then death will come. Because what's the sense anymore? I finished my time here. So my enlightenment for myself personally, I feel will come when I die.
So you don't think it's an achievable state that you could reach while you're living?
No.
Not for, but it's
for
different
me,
for everybody.
Yeah, it's different for everybody. For personally, I don't believe that it's a state that I'll ever achieve while I'm living. I might achieve great times in my life. Abundance, prosperity. I'll have plenty of joy. I'll be content, or not even necessarily just being content, but be happy in my life and happy with my surroundings. But life will keep going, and there'll always be, rainstorms, sprinkles, or thunder, lightning here and there, soft wind, hard wind, and that's just life.
Adversity.
That's right.
That's what you're trying to say.
And so when the time comes to where I do not need to learn anything anymore.
That's impossible almost.
That is. Think about it. That's why even the gurus say that we're not teachers, we're students. We're students teaching students. You're learning off of our experience.
You're just a student that has more knowledge than the others.
That's right. And we have to be open to receiving that knowledge from everybody. I learn from you. I learn from the youngest. We learn from children all the time.
Yeah, age to me is irrelevant.
Yeah.
As far as what you have to offer, if it's positive and it's solid and it's something that holds a lot of weight behind what you're saying, that regardless of your age, I'm going to consider that, and I'm going to use it, and I'm going to run with it, and I'm going to value it, and I'm going to learn from what you're having to say. It doesn't matter if you're younger than me, older than me. Everybody from all walks of life they all have a story, and they all have something to contribute.
Whether it's positive or negative, you're still going to learn from their experience.
Yeah, so that depends on really how you view life, because you can see a negative person as just a cancer that you want to remove, but if you ignore the fact that there is a lesson to be learned within that, then you're missing out on a huge part of the whole reason why maybe this person was put in your life. That negativity is thriving within them. But yeah, like I said, for me, it's more of just a bundle of all those things that you've gone through in your life that you carry with you every single day that you've learned from. To me, that's what enlightenment is. So if you really haven't gone through anything or any hardships or faced any adversity or been in a situation where you had to make these tough decisions that are really affecting your life, then I feel like you have really nothing to learn. So you have to go all through all of this stuff in order to even get close to being enlightened, if it's even possible.
That's right. You just keep on growing and learning.
Water the plant.
Yeah, just don't overwater it.
Don't overwater the seed. I mean, you can drown. We've all been to a point in our lives where I feel like we all thought we were drowning, and to a point where we didn't think that we'd be able to handle much more. That's what we call a breaking point. And some people, they reach their breaking point, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I feel I'm real visual when I think of stuff. So a lot of times I feel like when I was at a certain point in my life, I feel like most of the people are down here on Earth, right? And there's thick, heavy, dense clouds. And there's like all the famous people, all the rich people, they're all up there. And it's getting through that thick, dense cloud to reach where they were is just a thought that I used to have. But it's going through that adversity just to climb that mountain and get up there. get over and above it.
Yeah. And I don't mind going through the adversity. As long as I learn something from it. I always know that there's something to be learned from it. I mean, I'm only human, though. At a certain point in time, it does get overwhelming. And there's been many, many, many times, even this month, where I just wanted to give up, you know? But I have to constantly look around me and see that I'm in a situation to where, even though these things are going on to an extent, I am blessed still as to what I have in my life in the moment. And that's what a lot of the gurus too, that tell, like all these Buddhists and these shamans, they tell you one of the biggest things is just be in the moment and really, really look around when you're going through these anxieties and take a second to just pause, take a breath, and really, really be in the moment. Because right now we're sitting on this couch. Everything is good. We're healthy. Right now, we're healthy, you know?
And gratitude.
There's nothing chaotic going on around us right now. Everything is fine. Everything is calm. Everything is good. You know, I could take a breath. I could breathe on my own.
Another big thing is gratitude. Being in gratitude for everything, you know, it's a proven fact. When you're grateful for everything that's in your life and who's in your life and everything that you have in your life, you actually get more because you're coming from a place of appreciation, that you're grateful for everything. And it's a positive energy that you're putting out there. So that positive energy is going to attract more positive energy. So being in gratitude every day for what you have and where you're at, that's a very important key that I've been utilizing a lot for myself.
Yeah, see, it's almost like a game if you look at it. And it goes based off points, more or less. And the more points you have in your life, we'll just count that as happiness, you know?
Yeah.
And depending on how you view things, depending on whatever it is, like your relationship, say your partner, however you value that person and their points is all up to you. So that person may be worth like 100 points, you know, to one person who doesn't value them very much. But somebody who's going to appreciate that person for what they are and everything that they do for them may look at it like, dude, I got a 1,000,000 points right here. You know, There's nothing you could tell me. And same thing goes for the roof over your head or your vehicle that you have. At least you have one, you know, the pair of shoes on your feet, anything. Like all that stuff can be added up morally and plugged into your memory bank.
Just don't stay stuck there. Don't park yourself there.
No, don't. But but constantly be looking at everything with an open mind and trying to appreciate it for what it is and know that there are people who have it a lot worse than you.
Oh, shit. Imagine. You know, there's even kids that have it a lot worse than us that are born with disabilities that don't have an arm or a leg or cleft lip or other things, you know, and it's just, there's nothing wrong with it because that's just what life came at for them. It's just that I'm sure they're grateful for having just
and there's
being
even
alive.
Yeah, and there's even things that those kids who have it worse than us, there's even things that they value. And they may be just as happy as we are. You don't know. Because it doesn't really matter. Pain is pain. It feels the same exact way to everybody. So it doesn't really matter what situation you're in. It all depends on how it affects you. Some people are more resilient than others. And some people are more susceptible to, you know, that pain. But
we're all different.
No matter what boat you're in, you could always find a way to look at things in a positive light.
Well, at least do our best to do it.
When you're young, it's a lot harder because you're in school. You know, you got everything really taken care of for you. Depending on where you're at. Some families are not for everybody, but for the majority of kids, they're just in the system and they're going throughout their day and they're used to having lunch just there for them at the school. But
when they get home, sometimes there's nothing there.
Yes, in other parts of the world or other parts of the city, sometimes they got to grow up a lot quicker than most of us, and then their appreciation and their ability to view things differently even at a young age changes. Because a lot of people there's grown-ups who don't even develop that yet because they've been so pampered their whole life, you know? A lot of these kids that we were like every time we were like at home or we're watching like HGTV or something like that, and every time they're showing these you know, when they hook them up, like they get a realtor and it's a show and they show them like three houses and they tell them what they want as far as the, you know, the 3 houses go, their requirements, like their wish list of their house that they want. They got like a budget
Yeah.
And then sometimes they'll have like a budget of like $1 million. No joke, like $1 million. And they'll be walking into these houses and be like, oh, okay, well, here's my list. I want like a beachfront property. I want like this huge giant bathroom, and it has to have a tub. I need a fireplace and this and that. And
4-car garage.
it's always like, it always trips me out because a lot of the times they'll be in these houses and they'll go like the first one. It's a really nice house to the viewer, but the person that is walking into that house, if it doesn't meet those like 3 things on their list, they look at it and they're like, well, we're not very close to the beach. Like you can literally see it from the house, but it's like not right on the sand, and they're finding ways to
But that's kind of good though in a way, because you should always go for what you truly dream
dude,
about.
you gotta appreciate, like, dude, if you got a house on the beach and you got $1 million budget, you have it good, man.
Yeah.
Like relax, like open your eyes and see what you actually have.
But remember, what you believe and what you dream, you can achieve.
Yeah,
Just taking the action steps to get there.
See, I'm not taking anything away from these people. As far as like, okay, yeah, you may have worked your whole life to get that money, and you probably worked your ass off to get to where you're at. And
or
yeah,
not.
you earned what's on that wish list, but still, you gotta appreciate what it is. Like, dude, that's a beautiful house still. A lot of these people are stuck in apartments and stuff, and they wish they could have an eighth.
And maybe that's why we see it that way.
What do you mean?
Because we didn't have that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So some people they grew up with money, or they always had it, so it's harder for them to look at things and the way that we look at them.
If you think about it too, there's even studies out there that a lot of people who don't grow up as
fortunate
as others, they also have limitations on their life. They don't believe that they could actually achieve something better.
It's stuck in their head.
It's stuck in their head. And so that we have our own limits on ourselves. We have our own limitations. And it's getting out there, and people just need to remember that anything that you truly want, anything that your heart desires, you can achieve it. But you have to, of course, take the little action steps to get there. Just keep doing. And if you fall, then screw it. You fell. Get back up. Keep going. Get back up. Keep going. Some people want the end result to happen right away, quickly. And it doesn't happen. And then they give up right away. No, just keep going, man. Even if it takes you a lifetime, hey, at least you kept going and tried and tried and tried.
I have that problem myself. Like what you just said, a lot of people don't even believe that they can get to a certain point. Like for example, when I was in high school, the thought of graduating was something that was so foreign to me that I was almost 100%. I was 100% sure that I was not going to finish.
Did you graduate?
I didn't finish, but it was something that was so far fetched in my mind that I was like, dude, there was no way, because I didn't believe in myself. The people I were hanging around with didn't believe in themselves, you know? So this was an everyday reminder for me. And same thing goes for me being married. Like maybe like 5-6 years ago, that thought of maybe a marriage was so foreign to me, just how the thought of graduating was foreign to me. Like it was never going to happen. It wasn't feasible.
Now, how do you feel about that?
But that changed, you know. I feel like it is a possibility now. But I'm still in the state of mind where certain things feel unachievable. Like maybe having good credit. I've always had fucked up credit my whole life. Things like having my own house one of these days, you know, or just things like that. You know what I mean? That are so far-fetched in my head that I'm like, I'll probably never get there.
You know what? For myself, I've always had, I think my worst credit score was like 460 something.
That's what mine is right now.
It was hella low. But I started to look at it through Credit Karma. Kept looking at it, and boom, it started going up. I started to fix it, knocking some stuff off of there, paying some stuff that I needed to pay. And now I'm over 600 for my credit score. And that happened in less than a year. But because I kept following up and looking at it and checking it, you know, that's why I keep telling people, just go to Credit Karma. Mm-hmm. You know? I think I told you about that too, huh?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. What happens too, a lot of times somebody will go on there and they'll see their credit score so low and be like, damn, I don't even want to. Get discouraged. They get discouraged. They don't want to do it. That's how I was at first. They're like, no, I have to. I'm already 43 years old. I have to start striving for better credit.
Somewhere.
It's a must, you know? And then finally it went up to 520 and then 540. And then I got approved for a credit card and another credit card. And as long as you keep those balances low and keep paying them, then, your credit score is going to go up quick, really quick.
See, that's as huge as you have to realize that even for me, all those things that I'm dreaming about that I feel like are never going to happen, it just feels like a pipe dream to me. I have to realize that with the right state of mind and with the right training over the time and the right work ethic, all those things are completely possible. It's not without of my reach. It's something that you can achieve for anybody.
And you will. As long as you believe it, you will achieve it.
So it's just really taking your mind to that one place to where you have to see the possibilities and see that it can actually happen and be something that you could bring into fruition.
And keep that dream in your mindset. That's why they say those dream boards are great. Yeah. Because you constantly see it, constantly see it, constantly see it.
That happened to me when I started working out. I started in such a negative place. So I was like, well, if it happens, it happens. But then when I finally got there, it completely changed my mindset as far as what I was capable of.
Anchor yourself to that.
Yeah, I knew. I can take that same mind state and premise and apply it to everything else in my life. If I just put in the work and I do this every single day and I stay concentrated and focused, I can get to where I want to get.
So next time you have any doubts of anything, remember that.
I do remember that now.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I still fall off a little bit, but more or less, I know that I'm capable the more that I think I'm capable of. Anybody, I'm willing to surprise myself all the time. Like when I learned how to do the Rubik's Cube, like, dude, I never graduated. I was never good with numbers or anything like that. I didn't think I had a good memory, but it took me 3 days to crack that thing. And now I can do that shit with my eyes closed.
I never did the Rubik's Cube.
Rubik's
Cube. The Rubik's Cube.
I don't know what cube you're playing with, man,
but I was like, damn, that looks just...
But I felt accomplished at the end of it when I finally did it, because it was always one of those things that I think a lot of kids had maybe a Rubik's Cube in the house, or someone along the line got one some for their birthday or for Christmas they received one, but no one ever actually like took the time to look at it and try and crack it. But I dedicated my mind to doing it, and I did it. Like I surprised myself.
You just made me think about something. Lisa Nichols is always saying the way you play games is the way you live your life. As you were sitting here talking about the Rubik's Cube, I remember I had a cousin who used to just take the stickers off and put them on there. And that's the way they played that game. They cheated it.
That's cheating, cutting corners.
They're not really anywhere right now in life, They were cutting corners. And it's a true saying. The way you play games is the way you live your life. And you completed the Rubik's Cube. From there, you went on to complete your goal into getting into shape.
Yeah, I just kept surprising myself. There was like these things that I didn't think I was capable of. And I told myself too, when I, same thing with working out, I told myself like, I'm not going to stop until I finish this thing.
Well, we're capable of anything. That's what we don't realize is like, even from birth, going through, just that 9 months of developing our own bodies and shit. I mean, think about how impossible that is. Yeah. Think about like your internal organs, how everything works, you eat and comes back out. I mean, just how amazing we are just as we're built as people. And then if you really think about that, then you could think about, damn, anything's possible.
One of my dreams was to where if I ever made it successful, right, and if I had this platform available to me that I could show people what is actually possible. One of the big things that I wanted to do was even with the Rubik's Cube, dude, like, all right, if I showed you my report card, my last report card I ever received, you would look at it and be like, damn. That report card doesn't reflect your capabilities right now. Like it doesn't match up. It was literally straight Fs. It was all Fs except for I took this drafting class, and it for me it had more or less to do with like art, and that was already a thing that I was into in high school.
That's probably because it sparked your interest.
It sparked my interest, and that was the only class I had like a C in. I started with like an A, but then I slowly worked my way down to a C. But at the end of the trimester or whatever it was, when I got that last report card that I ever received in like 10th grade or something like that, it was my GPA was 0.5. 0.5, dude. That's like, you have to try to do that.
And your C is the only one that got you that 0.5?
Yeah, that was what I got, my 0.5. And but I still have that what's it called? That report card to this day, and I'm keeping it for my own,
That's good.
For when I ever get to a certain point that I want to get to, I always want to be able to bust that thing out, put it in a frame, and keep it on the wall and be like, look, that's where I started. You know what I mean? And this is where I'm at now. And I want to display that to people and be like, look, this is where I came from. This right here says that I am stupid, but I say otherwise. I changed that.
That's right. And that's how we are. We have to change because we're evolving. You know, there's a little picture that I saw online, caterpillar, and then the butterfly. You know, you change, yeah.
And all and all of this stuff goes back to being healthy mentally.
Yep.
It all goes back to being healthy mentally, because the biggest reason, and if not the only reason why I didn't graduate, other than nothing really sparked my interest, was the state of mind that I was in. I was having a rough time in high school. This is when all these mental illness signs started developing and showing up, is when I was in high school. Anxiety was huge for me. I couldn't sit still in class. I constantly was just absent mentally. I wasn't there. And I wanted to stay home. Eventually, excuse me, convinced my parents to let me go on home studies, where I pitched them the idea of like, I'll do better at home. And I knew in the back of my head I wasn't going to do any of that work. I was just going to sit around and do nothing and play video games or whatever I was doing. And but the reason I didn't graduate is because I was in such a poor mental state when I was, an adolescent. I was only 15, around that time, something like that. And if I had been in a more positive, healthy mind state, I think things would have been different. And same goes for every other thing that I was going through in life. My first job, or my first relationships, or, just my first interactions with altercations,
Yeah.
all this stuff could have gone dramatically different had I had been in a different mind state. If I hadn't been bipolar, or hadn't been depressed, or hadn't had all these chips on my shoulder at such a young age, and those chips are different for every person.
Yeah, I understand that.
But for me, those were the things I was going through, and it really started taking a toll on my self-esteem because I wasn't mentally well.
I remember sitting in science class and all I could hear was laughing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd hear Jeremy just laughing. You don't know this.
Oh,
shit.
so
you don't
him.
know this shit.
Oh, really?
You don't know this shit.
No.
You're not smart enough.
Oh no,
dumbass. So I was listening to that a lot, and I just had to.
I heard that a lot, but I heard it in person. So
Finally, I dropped out though. I got a job at Burger King, and I got my work permit, and I just stayed working. I just dropped out. Just never went back to school. Sophomore, I went for 2 months, and then boom, I was out of there.
What grade did you drop out?
Sophomore.
So it was freshman, sophomore, right? So the same year I did?
Oh, is that when you dropped out?
Yeah.
Damn.
That's crazy, huh?
I never had a problem getting jobs though. I mean, I'm not recommending that to anybody. I'm not saying anything to anyone, but
that's good.
I'm not downing education. Education's awesome, but I never really had any problems.
Well, I mean, you have to realize your circumstances are different than a lot of other people's, and so are mine. I really wish that I've always wanted to do this, and I really should still to this day. I wanted to go back, get my GED, wrap it, give it to my mom for Christmas, be like, look, I finished.
But then again, what are you doing?
No, I know, but I want it to be for myself, but for her too, I mean, because I think out of all the people, my mom has been the one that's been there for me the most. When that comes, she was the one taking me to doctor's appointments, and it really took a toll on her too, me growing up that way. It really hurt her a lot, and I wouldn't doubt that a lot of the things, depression that she went through post, prior to, or after those years, were because of the things that she had to deal with me. So I feel like in a way I owed that to her, you know what I mean, just for being so resilient through those years. And I owe it to myself to be like, look, I'm going to knock another thing off the list that it has been eating me up for years. And it's really not a big deal, but for me it was a huge deal just because I know people that were like way further troubled than I was, and they still finished.
Oh yeah. I've seen people that seemed like they were bullied all the time, and they still finished school.
Yeah, they still finished. Like people that have been locked up, shot, gang member, they still finished, and it always baffled me. I never understood that. I could never understand why I couldn't get my shit together. But
that's okay. That's why you are where you're at right now, and that's why you can do anything and accomplish anything that you want now. You can go back if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah, I use all this stuff like I said, I use it as a tool. And I look back on it, and I use it to fuel that fire that's going to keep me moving forward. And as deep as I may get right now, or as dark as it may be, to keep me alive. You know,
but it's the truth. And you know what? Somebody hearing this conversation out there, just this normal conversation that you and I are having, is going to either inspire them to do that as well, to go forward and learn from our own mistakes or what our experiences are, and then make their own choices in their own life. And that's awesome. Touch somebody.
Yeah, you can always clean up the mess that you've made. You can always clean it up. I have family close to me that have gone through the drug addiction. I'm talking like heavy drugs, and now they went from a place of having no money, hooked on drugs, their environment was horrible, to now they have a regular job again, and they're completely sober.
No,
now they're a kingpin, and now they but now they're holding down a regular job, and they're getting baptized, and they're being religious, and they're really, really like made a 180 with their life, coming from that place.
They anchored themselves with something.
Yeah, they found something to drive them forward, and they worked off that. But even being in that place that they're in, I mean, you know that drugs are a huge, like one of the hardest things probably to come out of.
Oh yeah, trust me.
And if you can come out of that, man, you can come out of anything.
That's exactly how I feel now. I mean, I conquered something big in my life, you know? And
that's something to be proud of.
Addiction. Oh, hell yeah. Addiction is the worst thing ever. And you climb that mountain, you just keep on climbing that mountain. You might slip a little bit down, but you just keep on going forward.
And it'll probably be snowing and raining and thundering, and it'll be cold, but
windy and blowing you down.
But when you get to the
rolling
top,
down the hill and then going back up.
But when you get to the top, you can have some hot cocoa or whatever. Yeah. Start a fire and have a nice meal.
Always strive for that top.
And you'll be able to see the view from where you came from and be like, look.
And be able to reach back and hold your hand out for some other people.
Yeah.
And help them come up the mountain as
well. Throw them a lifeline,
matters.
help pull them up.
Yep, that's right. And that's going to feel good.
Yeah, you already navigated that trail, so, you kind of paved the way a little bit, so you want to give them your roadmap and how you got there.
That's right.
Which I think is important, too, because one of the things I never really got was, at least growing up, my parents really never, I mean, this is just them being old school, but nobody ever really told me about credit, or nobody ever told me about how important these little things like saving your money is, and just life shit. Like, they never really gamed me up on that in that aspect. And I feel like when I do have kids, whenever I decide to do that, I'm gonna be as open as I possibly can about this whole thing, and everything that I've learned, I'm gonna share with them, no matter how uncomfortable it is or how hard it is for them to want to hear it. I'm gonna make sure that line of communication is always open. They should be included. Yeah, I feel like that's just a no-brainer.
A lot of parents don't do that these days. They sit down and they discuss their financial situation. They pay their bills. But when the kids come around, oh, you guys go over there, we're busy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So the kids aren't learning anything. They need to sit down with the kids. Look, this is what we need to do. This is what we're doing. We're budgeting. This is how much we have in the bank. Instead of going to the store with the kids and the kids asking for something, no, I can't afford it right now. So what's that thing that seed you're planting in that child's head? Oh, you can't afford it right now. And instead of saying, look, this is our budget. This is how much we're earning. This is the bills that we have to pay off. So you know what? We're going to save this little bit of money for vacation or whatever it is.
You need to let them know the reasons why.
That's right. Don't just shove them off. Include them in that process. And you're giving them the best tools in life. You're teaching them how to be responsible, how to pay bills.
Now, I'm not blaming anything on them. I'm just saying if it were me...
Shit, I am.
I'm just saying, I feel like I could have been a little bit more informed. I'm not blaming anything on anybody. And I've told them this time and time again, look, you guys did your best that you could, and where I'm at now is because of me. It's not because of you guys.
They did what they were taught.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't hold anything against anybody, which is a huge thing, because people, a lot of times, they have resentment and regret, and they hold grudges towards people, which is not healthy. You just have to realize that, hey, look, you have a brain too.
Yep.
And you made your own decisions.
It's hard to move forward if you're holding on to grudges.
Accountability.
Yep, that's right.
You have to be accountable. One of the things I want to talk about too was OCD.
Oh.
Do you struggle with it as well?
No.
No, you never had that.
So. But I've lived with people who have.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing to deal with on an everyday basis, because you don't really realize it, but you're driving yourself crazy for a long time. And it contributes to a lot of things in your life that you wouldn't think would affect it negatively.
You know what I was surprised about with OCD? I always thought that OCD was trying to be clean and straightening stuff out. And then it's not really just about that. There's so many things involved with OCD. They could be from counting taps on a doorknob to turning on and off the sink a couple of times, or lifting the toilet a few times, or being really, really clean, or being the opposite of really clean and just being a hoarder and hoarding stuff because you're afraid to get rid of stuff because that OCD wants you to keep it. So I was really surprised. There's so many different forms of OCD, and a lot of people should educate themselves on that because it's very, very important. It's very common too.
It's very common.
It's crazy.
The thing I didn't know about it too was that it was a form of anxiety. Yeah. It's an anxiety disorder.
Yep.
It's a fear of something. There's a reason why you're doing that. You're fearful of something, so it's triggering anxiety. It says excessive thoughts, obsessions that lead to repetitive behaviors, compulsions. Obsessive compulsive disorder is characterized by unreasonable thoughts and fears that lead to compulsive behaviors. But for me, I don't know what exactly caused it because as far back as I can remember, I've always had it.
How did you find out about it?
Well, one incident that happened that at least I can remember, the patterns that I started to fall into. One time I was doing something and it stuck out to me like, why am I doing this? So I must have been 9 or 10 years old and we were swimming in the pool. And
you peed in the pool.
I peed in the pool and I drank the water after it. And I was kidding. And I put it on my snow cone. No, we were swimming and I remember saying these phrases out loud. But I didn't know why I was saying them. And I remember thinking to myself,
was it Marco Polo?
No, it wasn't Marco Polo. I remember saying to myself, you have to say that again, clear enough to where whatever I had just said ain't going to happen. I think it had to do with something along the lines of like, I almost remember exactly what I said to, but I can't really remember it that clearly. All I know is I said something maybe like, we'll just I'm gonna throw in a fake one. We'll just say that I said I didn't want to drown. Okay, so I would say that, and I was coming out of the water, and then I blurted out that phrase.
So you're saying it out loud or
out
just
loud.
in your head?
I said it out loud this time, and then I thought back to myself like, I probably got to say that again because if I don't say it right the first time, it's not gonna be true. I have to make it true. So I kept saying it, and I said it maybe like 3 or 4 times. And then I remember watching, so that was odd to me.
Now, anytime before that, did anybody ever tell you, parents or anybody ever say, like, if you repeat something, then it won't happen?
Mm-mm.
No, it's just your own...
This was completely out of my own head, yeah. This was completely random and original and something that I was unaware of. And then I remember relating to something that somebody said on TV one time. I don't know, you know David Blaine, the magician?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was watching an episode of David Blaine, and they were interviewing him, and they were saying, or he was saying rather, that the question was, how come you're able to do these things and push yourself to this point where you're able to do these incredible, accomplish these incredible feats? And he said that, well, when he was younger, for example, he'd be like walking down the street and he would see a particular leaf hanging from a tree. And he said that if he didn't reach that leaf, as far as like jump up and try and grab that leaf, if he wasn't able to reach that leaf in his head, he would put this thought in his head that if he didn't reach it, his mom was going to die or something like that. So he constantly tried to jump up and reach and grab that leaf and like over and over and over, which to me was weird. And I related to that. I was like, that's a lot of the shit that I do.
Yeah.
That's a lot of the weird things that I put inside of my own head. That's a form of like compulsion. You know what I mean? Damn it, I keep saying it. I keep saying, you know what I mean? But yeah, it really resonated with me. And that's when I started realizing that maybe there is a form of OCD. But this is before I even knew what it was. I just knew that something was kind of off. And
did you start recognizing it?
Yeah, I started recognizing it. And
like every time it'll happen or just once in a while?
I think every once in a while.
So, like, if you were in school or something, and then you now, would you blurt something out sometimes in school?
Nah, this was just that one particular incident that I don't think it kept reoccurring in that same fashion.
So it was in your head the other times.
It was just in my head, but it wouldn't always present itself as verbal.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
It would be certain things that would just trigger me, and maybe I would perform those rituals. That's what they call them. But
how would you feel about yourself then? Did you feel like
I didn't think anything of it?
Odd, or did you?
I always knew I was odd, but I didn't know why. But this was just one of the forms of early stages of OCD, I think. But it wasn't. Go ahead.
I have another question for you. Now, when you realized that you were odd and not normal, did you ever feel like, God, there's something wrong with me, and like hate yourself for that? Or did you, I'm just curious, like, because I felt that way before. I hated myself for who I was. I used to pray at night saying, God, why did you even create me?
Yeah. Not until after my incident, which when I was 12, and that's when that's a whole other story to go into, which was when I smoked weed for the first time, but I didn't know it was laced. And that's after that incident happened, and I kind of blew my circuitry, mentally. That's when I started developing all these self-esteem issues, and everything kind of went awry from there, downhill. But prior to that, I used to be a really confident kid. I feel like I was almost overconfident. I was cocky, and I was kind of a prick, to be honest. And after that, that's when everything kind of started going downhill. In a way, I kind of felt like reality was just checking me because I was so cocky. I was that kid amongst his friends who would be almost like a bully, I kind of wanted to...
I had everything better than you do.
No, not like that. Just like, bro, I'll fuck you up. Like, if I know I'm stronger than you, I know I'm faster than you. Like, I had this confidence that nobody could beat me in anything. I was just really competitive, And it wasn't until after that point that everything started going downhill. But later on into the years, when I don't remember exactly when, but I started developing rituals, like, for myself. Like, I remember as young as, still, again, like 11 years old, we'd be traveling in the car or whatever, and I'd be in the front seat. And if I caught myself looking in the mirror, the rear view mirror, if I caught myself looking into my left eye and I looked away without looking into my right eye, I would look back in the mirror again and make sure that I left looking at my right eye. But I didn't know why.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, and just things like that would present themselves. And then eventually it evolved into numbers and stuff like that. So I started developing safe numbers and numbers that I wasn't comfortable with, or numbers that didn't agree with me, as far back to as even maybe like elementary school. I remember one time I had they assign you desks in elementary school, and I think my particular desk was like 18 or something like that. And then there was this kid who sat, I think, next to me, but I didn't like him, and his was 19. So my whole life, I kind of, as the years went by, I remember thinking anything 19 or 18 was not good.
It was
or
bad.
Not bad. It was not bad because
kid there.
No, because there was like something attached to it. But then it just started developing as like all these other numbers, like 5s I really hated, to me, like represented death. 7 was like green, is kind of deathy too because of religion. I don't know. And then 4 was like confrontational, and 3 was like the devil, I guess, and 2 was like all these things that go with it. And then 6 for me was safe, So a lot of the time, even now, it's still numbers, which I'm barely going through the process of trying to refrain from doing those things, but in a real way, because I used to try and fight them before, but the anxiety was too much for me, and I felt like it was going to affect my life, so I was afraid to attempt to.
So it give you an anxiety if you didn't. So going back to the eye thing, was that a sense of incompletion?
I think so. I don't know. I think it was a sense of like a self-esteem issue or something like that. That's all. That's the only way I can interpret it.
I was just wondering because I'm thinking about you looking into the mirror with your left eye and then going back to look at it through the right eye. So it kind of seems like it's incompletion. Like you didn't completely stare in it with both of your eyes. Is that how you felt or no?
I don't know. I've always had this thing ever since I was young where the mirror in me was a huge thing. And it wasn't necessarily that I was checking myself out or looking in the mirror to make sure that my hair is right. It was more or less I was like looking into the mirror and I was like perplexed with myself and wondering like, just so many questions, you know. I think I was just trying to find myself. It was more or less of me just trying to find myself. I don't know. I've always just, every time I see a mirror, I'm just either curious, disgusted, or happy. I mean, it's all the emotions, but I don't know. I've always just been able to just like look in the mirror. Like my girl would always say it was conceited, but for me, it was nothing like that. It was
because you had your own thoughts.
I think I'm trying to look in the mirror and validate that I am good enough. I think that's what it is.
Well, you should try that practice. I mean, you should. I'm not saying that you should, but it helped me, practicing just staring at myself in the mirror and letting myself know that, look, it's okay to have confidence. You are beautiful. You're made the way you're made, and there's nothing you can do to change it unless you go have surgery, and I can't afford that.
Well, there's times where I've looked in the mirror and I've been like, damn, bro, you're hella handsome, like after a haircut or something. And there's times where it's been the opposite, but for me, it was more of like a soul searching kind of thing, looking into the mirror.
And that's good, though.
But, yeah, it is good. But going back into the OCD, so, so it developed in numbers, and then even when I'm watching TV, it like, if we're watching a certain show and it's a ER or something like that, if I'm looking at the TV and I'm looking directly at the surgeon or maybe the patient that the surgeon is working on, if I look away from the TV and the last thing I looked at was the patient, I had to look back and make sure I look at the person working on them, not the actual patient. Because in my head, if I looked away from the TV, that somehow or another, if the last person I looked at was the patient, that was going to become me. I was going to be put in that situation. So it was a fear of me going under the knife or something like that. So I would make sure that I would look away, take a breath, and then look back.
Kind of like my cake issue.
I guess, but all of these things were happening, and it was taking up my day-to-day life, and it was driving me nuts because I couldn't even watch TV now without having all these stresses and anxieties inside of my head. And like even the volume, if I could only go to certain numbers in the volume. So yeah, so if I wanted it to be high, I can only go to a certain point. Like say 28 was like the really like the level I needed it to be at, but I couldn't go to 28. I had to stay at 24 or 26. I couldn't go to, so I would just have to keep it at.
See, I had that problem too, but yeah. All the numbers had to add up to 9.
No, mine were anything with a 6. So I was good on 26. I was good on 20 because the 0 don't really represent nothing. I didn't want it to be on 18 or 19 or 17 even. It had to be on 16. It had to be on like maybe 14, sometimes 10 or 6 or a 3. Anything in between, I had to make sure that. So like I would grab the remote and my girl would change it, like raise the volume, and I would take it back from her and I had to put it on
the right number.
I'd put it on the right number. And same thing with just anything, dude. Like it's just a huge form of anxiety that I've been dealing with for a long time. But just recently, I've been really, 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 really trying my hardest to get rid of that. And if now I'm like forcing myself to put the channel on a number that I'm not comfortable with, or when I am watching TV, make sure that I'm not thinking so much into it. And if I want to look away, fucking look away, dude. Like, who cares? It's not gonna do anything. I'm really, really forcing myself out of my comfort zone.
Kind of seems like if it's a limitation, like if you're limiting yourself by only going that far, and you're passing your limitations by forcing yourself to practice into going out of your comfort zone, which is a good thing. I mean, I'm not a psychologist or anything like that, but I mean, I would think it's a good thing.
Well, it's a good thing because I'm trying to actively fight it, and now I'm not gonna let it control my life anymore, and I have to realize that these numbers and these things have nothing they might, but most likely they have nothing to do with the universe and how my life is gonna play out just based on these numbers and these images or how I look at somebody a certain way. I have to realize that these aren't gonna dictate my actions.
Yeah,
you're
in control of your own actions.
I'm in control. I'm in control of these things, and these numbers have nothing to do with how I'm gonna live my life.
I had a similar situation, but for myself was the cake issue.
Okay.
When my mom and dad had gotten married, I remember I wasn't feeling good. I was just tired, and Mexicans, how they do this big ass wedding, and they're celebrating all night. Well, they finally cut the cake, and I didn't want any cake. It's like, no. And then one of my aunts was like, just have some cake. And I was like, no, I don't want any cake. And so she tried to convince me and say, it's bad luck if you don't eat the cake. So I still didn't eat the cake. I was being crabby, and I was just a little kid. Well, my mom and dad ended up getting divorced. So for years, I thought it was because I didn't eat the cake. And then every time I had to, have a bite of cake everywhere I went, if it was a birthday party, wedding, no matter what it was, I always told myself I have to have
And you couldn't stop yourself from, if there was a situation that involved you eating cake, you felt like if you didn't eat that cake, something bad was going to happen.
Yep, exactly.
And that's the same exact thing for me as far as like the numbers go or these images, or if I look at you, I got to look in your right eye. If I didn't do that, if I didn't do all those rituals, that something bad was going to happen later on.
Yeah, I get it.
Like
I would break myself out of that finally. And
like
numerology is an important thing. I mean, we could get on that subject some other time, but
yeah, we'll next time we'll dive into that. But in a way, it's like a superstition too, as well.
Yeah,
which may be
self-inflicted superstition.
Self-inflicted superstition, but maybe it's because I was little. I mean, growing up, I had my family's real traditional, so at least my grandma and my grandpas were. I mean, they were very superstitious. So maybe that somehow got implemented into my, to me growing up, like even with my text messages and shit. Like,
I think we just came up with a really good phrase.
What?
Self-inflicted superstition.
Well, it's got to have a ring to it. You can't even say it.
Self-inflicted superstition. No,
self-inflicted.
I mean, if you think about it, it's probably most likely what it is, because I did that to myself and you did that to yourself.
Well, it's a fear of something. It's a fear that something bad is going to happen to either me or the people around me. Yeah. Out of fear of confidence or lack of confidence or self-esteem or whatever it is. But there's a fear within me. And these rituals are almost me trying to validate that if I go through with them, that nothing's going to happen. But like I said, I have to
complete it.
I have to realize that that's not the case. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I said it again. Fuck.
No, that's fine. Well, you even hear those people who say that they can't step on cracks.
Yeah,
because something bad's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to laugh about that, but no, it's an issue.
Oh, I deal with it. Like, okay, going up our stairs to our apartment complex, there's this bush that like sits right in the middle of the stairs, and I always have to go to the right of it, not the left. Because the word left in my head means that they're gone. Left. You left. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I stay to the right of it. But these are things that I'm trying to get over, and I'm really actively doing something about it for the first time in my life. And I'm trying to take out the stress of this OCD. I'm trying to fight it myself.
That just goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning, how I felt myself personally of enlightenment. I don't feel like I'll ever reach enlightenment because life is a process. And you know what? And at least you're at a point to where you recognize those things and you're willing to accept it, and you're willing to actually, I guess, like battle it out, that you're winning. It's a winning battle anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going around those steps, and you're going around those negative thoughts that are self-inflicted thoughts.
I'm trying to win.
You are winning already.
Yeah, I don't want this to weigh me down anymore, or anybody else out there who's going through the same thing. It doesn't matter what you're going through. You have to face your fear, because in a way I'm facing my fear, and I'm trying to show myself that there's not going to be any repercussions.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Go around the left side of the bush tonight, and if I'm still alive tomorrow, you're good. Okay?
No, I know that. I know that'll be the case. So. Do you think it's a form of mental illness as well? I don't know if it is.
It's mental.
It's a sickness.
I mean, I'm not a doctor, but no, you're right, because it's something it's a thought in your mind. So I mean, where else is it coming from? It makes a lot of sense, and you know what? People go through it all over the world, man. Mm-hmm. Everybody goes through something like that. Even if somebody thinks that there's nothing wrong with them, there's still some little thing that they doubt, or like you said, going around the other side of the bush. Walk around it.
Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because all these little things, they take up so much time and unnecessary energy out of your life that you don't need that stress.
Because you could be focusing on something else.
Mm-hmm. It's just it's stressful.
Yeah.
So anybody going through that, I mean, you're not alone.
No.
OCD sucks, but you can beat it. I'm trying to beat it, and I will beat it, and I'm not gonna let it control me.
Well, I'm here to support you, my brother.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I mean,
tribe.
It's gonna be a process though, because I'm so set in my ways, and I've done this my whole entire life. That it's gonna take some work.
what matters though is you recognize it, and you're putting it out there, and you're putting it out there not only for the world to see, but you're seeing it yourself, and that's awesome. That's an amazing step. Celebrate that.
I'm
Have
gonna
to
celebrate
every single small step that you make.
Like I said, I want to be better in my 30s than I was in my 20s, which is obviously the goal for anybody.
Your year. You're gonna be 30 years old. You're gonna be 30 years. You're old, man.
I don't feel old.
Nah,
I just feel I feel more mature. That's about it. But other than that, everything feels the same. I'm still a kid inside. You know what I mean?
As long as you feel more mature, that's good, because you know what? You're growing and you're learning in life. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm not the same person I was when I was 20, or when I was 18, or when I was 50, or yesterday. Even though I'm always different people in a good way, though. I'm always evolving, just like Peter.
Yeah, your Peter's always evolving.
Peter's always evolving. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I'm good. This was a really good conversation. As long as we have conversations like this and everybody else can hear this conversation, they'll learn something from us and from our experiences, and that's all that matters. Again, we're not psychiatrists, psychologists, doctors, or anything anyway. I'm a dropout from school. I'm just here talking about my life lessons, and
I feel like you did better today than I did. I thought I was gonna have a better day than I did. But I guess there's this anxiety inside me that I didn't even realize was there today.
You know what? I did better now because I'm facing my truth a lot, and especially what I'm talking about yesterday and getting that off my chest, and even though I'm making myself look like an asshole because of what I said, I'm accepting that, and I know I fucked up. I know I said something wrong, and I'm holding myself accountable for it. And you know what? Realizing the lessons is what makes us grow stronger.
Yeah, it's all about becoming stronger.
That's all life is.
Better the day better than the day before.
Yep,
being better than the day before.
So whoever you are, wherever you are, morning, night, evening, afternoon, I'm Victor Jr. Bye.
Oh, we're wrapping it up? Oh. Is there anything else you wanted to add? Oh, are we good?
I'm good.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right, then.
Sorry, I thought we were closing. That's why I said it.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Till next time.